Yes guys, a very good morning and welcome to a new daily market outlook. Some very interesting markets and some big payouts coming. Yesterday I applied for the payout from Nova Funding. A screenshot of that was sent in the Discord community, so make sure to join that, link in the description down below. With that said, I've made some updates to my Bitcoin signal strategy, so some very interesting signals on BTC coming up. And without further ado, let's dive straight in. Starting off with the dollar index. The dollar index yesterday made a change of character upon this low over here, meaning that we have a change in the overall fractal structure, meaning that this area of supply did actually in fact provide us with a significant enough of a reaction to potentially push the dollar index down deeper. So this is currently the area of supply that I'm eyeing up. We have liquidity being built up above here, above the highs. So what I'll be looking for is a potential quick spike up in towards this area of supply and then a dump down lower in line with the overall change of character structure. Of course, change of character structure is a lot weaker than, for example, internal structure, or what you want to call it, fractal structure. Because the fractal structure is just purely based upon wicks, so it could also just be liquidity grab. But overall, after coming from an area of supply, it does hold some significance. So therefore, I will be keeping my eyes out for a potential short once we grab the liquidity over here on the dollar index. And this in turn is in line with our overall setup on euro dollar. So that's the dollar index for you guys, expecting for the downside. Of course, if this high were to go up above over here, that wouldn't be an issue as well. Then we just go deeper in towards this area of supply. And then we could just potentially continue up higher in towards this extreme area of supply, from where, of course, the bigger swing down and the higher probability shorts overall on the dollar index will play out. But yeah, I mean, when we get into these areas of supply, this is exactly what you want to see. You want to see a reaction. You want to see a change of character, because this is one of the tail signs that we are potentially going to head down lower. I mean, the swing structure is bearish and now the fractal structure is also bearish. So yeah, let's keep our eyes out for that. Moving on in towards euro dollar, because euro dollar, guys, that is where the potential setup for today lies. So overall, euro dollar, of course, faked out on this low, early buyers getting stopped out, and shortly afterwards we saw a change in the fractal structure, so a change of character over here on the 4 hour. So we had a 4 hour chock, what we call it, meaning that we now have this buy or this sell over here before the buy as your potential area of demand. So this entire sell before the buy, that is where potential demand lies, which initiated this change in the overall fractal structure from, of course, bearish to bullish. And the way that we measure that a potential pullback is over, because of course after a break of structure, like I explained yesterday, from this swing low to this swing high, we expect a pullback. When is the pullback over? The pullback is over when we see either a change in the fractal structure, because then we expect, of course, the fractal structure to continue up higher, or a change in the internal structure. So in this particular situation, this is a change in the fractal structure. We have this sell before the buy, which took out this high, and inside of this 4 hour order block, that is where you now want to be looking for the longs. We liquidated this 4 hour low over here. So we have our liquidation, and therefore the probability of us seeing further upside from this area of price is now increasingly higher. Moving down in towards the 15, the overall 15 minute also provided us with a change in structure upon providing us with a change of character on the 4 hour. Now we have this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful range over here with the range high and the range low. So what I'm now looking for is a potential spike down lower in towards demand, or this area of demand, and then a potential long setup on euro dollar. I'm not just going to randomly start buying within this range. For the setup to play out, we do need to see a potential drop lower into one of the other areas of demand. Excuse me, that should be a long. So yeah, that is what I'm looking for today on euro dollar, potential longs on the board. Moving on in towards Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, guys, from a 4 hour perspective, just remained bearish. So as opposed to what we saw on euro dollar, we did not kind of see any change of character. Of course, as I explained in yesterday's video, this was your change of character high. So for change of character to happen, what was I waiting for? Well, I was waiting for another low break over here. We got the low break as we wanted. So now if this high were to, for example, go, then you have that change of character high, and you can look for those longs back up in towards, for example, this area of supply over here. Now, what are we going to be doing? Well, potentially we still have further downside on our hands here on Aussie dollar. Of course, we are near the 50% mark of the overall swing range, which is also known as the EQ. So we could see some potential bullish reaction. Of course, we already saw last night during Asia session that there was some buying activity going on. Be keeping my eyes open, mainly on 15-minute time frame, because overall from a 15-minute perspective, this is now your overall swing structure. So we broke this low over here with a 15-minute BOS. Afterwards, this became our high over here. So this is now the highest high, This is now your highest high, which broke, of course, this swing low. So this is now your swing low, and this is now your swing high. Once we take out this swing high, that is when I'll be looking for a long. That is just your 4-hour change of character high. So yeah, until then, you can just potentially look for shorts. However, of course, what I'll be doing is only looking for shorts until we reach the daily area of demand and this 4-hour area of demand. So keep that in mind. Overall, on the 15-minute, yesterday we saw some beautiful setups in the sense that you had high break, high break, high break. Then we had this low break, which I pointed out yesterday. After the low break over here, this becomes your high, this becomes your low. What do we see? We don't see any liquidation in this move down. So what happens? This becomes liquidity. The early sellers with their stop loss above structure, they become the liquidity. You see, it gets tapped out, boom, sells off in towards the downside. So that was your potential short opportunity over here. Shorting from there after liquidation, occurring, and shorting down towards that 15-minute swing low. Now that we have had further structured development, we now have structure break. So this is your structural high. As we can clearly see, very beautiful setup. Actually, again, liquidation happening over here upon this high, tap in towards supply, and now we are selling off in towards the downside with a lot of liquidity being built up below these lows. Now, if we are to break again this low over here, then just wait for the pullback and keep on shorting until we reach that area of 4-hour demand. Of course, we're getting deeper in towards the legs, so shorting is becoming lower probability. It's becoming a lower probability, and preferably, of course, what we will be waiting for is a potential long upon the high break over here, and then we take the 50-minute structural change and we long from demand. That is the higher probability setup, but if you're still looking for trades, you can still trade until this daily area of demand, but keep in mind that the overall setup is going to be lower probability. So moving on in towards pound dollar. So pound dollar overall, still for the downside required. Overall, some good price action. We had a fractal structure break over here. This meaning that this is now your high of the bullish candle and this is your low. Pull back in towards the highs. And then, of course, potential shorts were provided. I'm not sure if I discussed this in yesterday's video, but then, of course, we have supply over here, liquidation upon this high, and then further downside starting to occur. Overall, it does look like the higher probability setup is still in towards the downside. For potential longs, we would need further development. What we would need for a potential long is the break of this fractal high over here, because then we have both the fractal structure and the swing structure, both bullish, and then I'll be happy to look for a potential long back up in towards the highs. Until then, you're just waiting for the overall structure to continue in towards the downside until we reach overall this daily area of demand. So that is it in a nutshell for you guys. Expecting further upside, but only upside once we see that change of character. Otherwise, until then, still for the downside in towards this 4-hour area of demand. So that's pound dollar. Moving on towards Kiwi dollar, NZDUSD. So NZDUSD did what we needed yesterday, as you can clearly see. People going long again on the bullish candles over here. Clear support and resistance. Then what happens? There's no liquidation in the move up. People become the liquidity. Stops get swiped. Easy as that. What have we seen this morning? Very interesting is a change in character. So this is a break of this fractal high, meaning that this is now your fractal low. So we are now bullish on a change of character perspective. Bullish from a 4-hour swing perspective. Just keep in mind that the daily isn't looking very good for longs, but I mean a short-term buy could play out still, because despite us moving down from the supply and the daily being bearish, we don't have any liquidation in that move down, so there is a probability of us moving back up again to take out the stops. So keep that in mind when trading. Now moving on in towards the 15-minute, what you would want to see, because from a 15-minute perspective, it is less beautiful, I would say, because the 15-minute would still be bearish in the sense that this is your swing low over here, because this is just one swing down. These aren't any swing pullbacks. Very nice descending corrective price action, boom, boom, boom. But this is now your swing high. So this is the high that needs to go for the 15 minutes to, for me to be valid for longs. Of course, clear liquidation over here happening, so likely that price will dump down deeper, then potentially react over here in towards the highs once again, for example. That could happen, but this is not the setup that I'm going to be taking. I would only look at euro dollar and focus on that pair, which is now moving in towards our demand zones. Then moving on in towards our last pair, which is of course gold. So gold, gold just further downside happening. Looking at it from a weekly perspective, we are nearing the area where I expect slowdown, which is of course our weekly sell before the buy. And then of course refined, you could say that this is your sell before the buy. So it still has some potential to move down in towards 1927. Of course, you could refine it to this, seeing that this is where the sell in towards downside starts. So somewhere in here, of course, it's a massive range. So we would have to go then in towards the daily. Then if we look at the daily, we can clearly see, of course, what we wanted to see. And that is that our next sell before the buy is around 1932. So yeah, I would be looking for a potential long from 1932. But then, of course, we need to see some bullish reaction, because what has now happened is that we've seen a bearish change in character, meaning that this is now the low which broke, which I pointed out yesterday. So we've now seen a bearish change of character, meaning that, of course, the swing is still bullish, but we could now potentially make a deeper retracement. This is your supply zone, which provided us with that fractal structure break, and we could still just keep on moving down lower. But I'll be keeping my eyes out for either this area of demand or this area of demand. And preferably, same as on, for example, euro dollar, pull back, push down, get the sellers out. This then becomes a change of character high instead of this high all the way up here, because again, if we have to wait for that high to go, then the market will move without us. So what I'll wait is for this, and then I'll, for example, go long. Otherwise, just stay out. But these are good buying zones around 1932 and 1885. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you all a fantastic day. Make sure to join Discord, and Bitcoin signals and Forex signals are coming up in the server. Speak soon.